Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I am taking a look at the upcoming primaries coming up on Tuesday, May 5th, obviously just in a few days as the time I'm recording this video. So today's video, I want to show you some of the races that are coming up that I am particularly for one reason or another am keeping an eye out for. So first things first, May 5th, obviously Indiana and Ohio. What's going on? Well, looking at the congressional map, I'll start with the House races. Obviously, every single House race is up in Indiana, both Democratic and Republican primaries on Decision Desk HQ. It has all the information on each primary for the House, for the Democrats and Republicans. For the general election, in terms of general election significance, the district that's most important is the 1st District with Frank Mrvan, the Democratic incumbent. This is the only district on Indiana's map that's listed from the consensus rankings, which come from the Sabado Crystal Ball, Cook Political Report, and Inside Elections. Only this 1st district right here is listed as lean for the Democrats. The rest are all either solid Republican or solid Democrat. So that 1st district is a very important one to keep an eye out for. I'm sorry, this is Ohio. Let me find the Indiana one here. The 1st district, Frank Mrvan actually does have a primary challenger. He is expected to win the primary, but Lavetta Sparks Wade is the Democratic primary challenger in this race, so this will be an important one to watch for the general election. You can see this district includes parts of Gary, Indiana, Portage, Valor Praso, Maryville, and Michigan City in this part of the state. So that's an important one to watch for on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, it's important to see which candidate will be running to take on Frank Mrvan. You have Barb Regnitz, Ben Ruiz, and James Schenke as well. This is a pretty important one, as we can see here in the 2024 House elections in Indiana. Frank Mrvan ended up winning by roughly 8.5%, and there was talk about Republicans trying to redraw the congressional map in Indiana, heavily pushed by President Trump to try and get that done, to redraw the 1st district into being more of a possible flip for the Republicans. Obviously, that ultimately did not end up happening, which is why it's also interesting to keep an eye on. There are roughly about, according from across Indiana and Ohio, there's a total of 357 House races and 80 Senate races in the state Senates. So to do both states and split them up would really take a while, but there are numerous state senators in Indiana that President Trump was hoping to primary challenge for not going through in redrawing the congressional map. So those could be elections that are interesting to watch for as well. So for Indiana at the House level, the only thing really too important to watch out for is that 1st district for the primary and for the general election. The rest of the primaries are, there'll be some interesting things at the primary level for Indiana, but most of the races we know how they are going to go. As I mentioned, we know every race is going to be safe Republican except Indiana 7 with Andre Carson and the 1st district with Frank Mrvan being the only real competitive one. So for Indiana, that's pretty much it. Yes, the primaries all have elections going on there, but really that 1st district House primary is the one I'm keeping an eye out for there. Other than if there are any Republicans or Democrats running against current representatives in already safe districts, those may potentially be interesting and can be competitive, but other than that, not really too much to go into there for the general election standpoint. Now on to Ohio. Ohio does have some interesting ones, and if you've been watching either my channel or prior or other channels as well, you know the ones I'm going to mention. Obviously, the governor's race and the Senate race in Ohio are going to take definitely front and center. On the governor's side, Amy Acton is the only Democrat in this race, so she's going to win the primary and become the Democratic candidate. On the Republican side, Vivek Ramaswamy and Casey Putters. I'm going to say Casey Push, but I could be wrong how to pronounce her name correctly. But this primary will go for Vivek Ramaswamy. He'll advance to the general election versus Amy Acton in a race that's almost certainly going to be one of the closest governor's races in all of the United States in 2026. We can look here as well to the general election. I'll pull this up for you here just to see where things are currently looking. And it's going to be very close. Oh, they've not updated the governor election for a general yet for Ohio, but point being, it's going to be very, very close. We can pull up the Wikipedia page for this one. We can look at some of the polling data that's been taken into account so far between Amy Acton and Vivek Ramaswamy, and it's looking to be very competitive. Currently, most of the predictions have it as either tilt or lean Republican. With most recent polling averages, 270 to win has Vivek up by 3. Decision Desk has Vivek up by 2.5, and Vivek is up in race to the White House by roughly about 1.4. So this one is clearly getting very, very close. We can even look at this as well in decision desk and just see what it says here. It's generic ballot or general ballot test for Ohio governor. And yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy is leading. You can see for a little bit of time, actually, Amy Acton pulled ahead of Vivek Ramaswamy around February. And then roughly by the beginning of April, Vivek Ramaswamy had a few polls that gave him good standing, and he jumped ahead on that one. So it's going to be a very close race, certainly a very important one to keep an eye out for in Ohio. So that primary for governor is going to be very important as well. Next, for the Senate race in Ohio, obviously we know how this one is going to go, but Democrat Sherrod Brown is going to win the U.S. Senate primary and face off against Republican U.S. Senator Jon Husted, who was appointed to fill the remainder of the term of Vice President J.D. Vance. We can actually see here, I want to see if we can pull up on the governor's side or the U.S. Senate side for Jon Husted versus Sherrod Brown here, and it also shows it a very close race as well for this one. Husted's at 48.6, Sherrod Brown's at 45.8, so a little bit under 3-point lead for Husted over Brown at this current point in time, but this is certainly going to shape up to be a very close and very important Senate race as well. Looking at the Senate map from one of the prior videos I did, Republicans 51, Democrats 49, current prediction, Ohio is currently in lean Republican, but if Alaska flips, it makes it 50-50, and if Ohio flips, it would be 51-49 for the Democrats. So Ohio is going to play a very important role for the general election, obviously. As for the primaries, we know Jon Husted's going to win, we know Sherrod Brown's going to win, but still, just to officially get the confirmation when that comes in is going to be very important. In Ohio, we can look at the congressional map for Ohio in the general election as well. And when you look at the map, there are 3 House races that are considered to be the main competitive ones to varying degrees. Ohio 9 with Marcy Kaptur, the longtime Democratic incumbent, is the most competitive House race that's up in 2026. The 1st district with Greg Landsman, I would say, is the second most competitive. And after the map being redrawn, the 13th district with Amelia Sykes is no longer as competitive as it was in 2024. But these are the main House races to keep an eye out for. The 9th district with Marcy Kaptur, we can pull up the Democratic primary. I believe she is running unopposed. Yes, she is. On the Republican side, there are a lot of Republicans running, including Aliyah Nadeem, Anthony Campbell, and Derek Merrin. Derek Merrin, who I believe was the nominee in 2024, is likely the favorite Republican candidate at this time, and I fully expect this will be a very close general election for 2026. So this primary actually could have very important ramifications for that one. In the 1st district with Greg Landsman, he's running against Democrat Damon Lynch, so that primary we'll have to wait and see how that goes, but I expect Greg Landsman will win that one. The 1st district, Republicans running in this one are Eric Conroy, Holly Adams, and Rosemary Oglesby Henry. This is going to be important as well, as the Democrats are favored in this race for 2026. In my own predictions, I would certainly have them favored to win here, but this primary can end up being very important as well to see which Republican takes on the Democrats, and then in elections, you never really know, so that's going to be an important one as well. For the 13th one, Representative Amelia Sykes is running unopposed in her congressional district, which has Acton and Canton as well. On the Republican side, the Republican nominee from 2024 was not running again after the district got redrawn and became more solidly Democratic. Few Republicans are running. Kerry Coleman, Kevin Sambita, and Margaret Bream are running to face off in the general election against Sykes on that one. From there are numerous primaries up in the congressional maps in Ohio as well, like with Indiana. A lot of the rest of the map, though, for the general election standpoint, are all safe. The 3rd district is safe Democratic, as well as the 11th district, and the rest of the districts, like the 14th, 6th, 7th, 5th, 4th, 8th, 10th, all throughout Ohio, are all currently listed as safe for the Republicans, according to the consensus rankings as well. So from the general election standpoints for Indiana and Ohio, there's not really too much up for grabs outside of the 9th district and maybe the 1st district for the House side of things. The 13th is going to be general election-wise pretty reliably blue. The 9th district and the 1st district may be competitive, but even that, we're going to have to wait and see how that all goes. Most of the races that are up, though, for the primaries are either in districts that are already safe red or safe blue across Indiana and Ohio, and the ones that aren't, we've already done a quick spotlight on in this video for those races. As for down-ballot races that are also happening throughout Ohio and Indiana, we do have, I believe, we talked about the governor's race in Ohio. We do have the attorney general's race in Ohio, where it's Elliot Forian and and our fellow Democrat Jon Husted are running in this race. On the Republican side, it's Republican Keith Faber currently running unopposed. On that one, for the Secretary of State race, the Democrat Allison Russo is running against Brian Hambly. On the Republican side, there's Marcel Stribich facing off against Robert Sprague. Robert Sprague, I believe that name does sound familiar. He may have ran in a prior statewide race in Ohio. That name sounds familiar. For the treasurer race as well, Democrat Seth Walsh is facing off against Republicans Jay Edwards and Christina Rogner. So the down-ballot races in Ohio actually seem to have more competitive primaries than even the top of the ticket ones. The Senate race, obviously, with Sherrod Brown, we just talked about. Jon Husted, we just talked about. There is state Supreme Court primaries going on as well. The state Supreme Court, Jennifer Bruner's seat. The Democratic side, Jennifer Bruner, the incumbent, is running again unopposed. The Republican side, 3 Republicans are facing off, and Andrew King, Colleen O'Donnell, and Jill Lanzinger. They're running to face off in the general election for that one. Also, the state Supreme Court for Dan Hawkins' seat is Democrat Marilyn Zayas is currently running unopposed, and the Republican Dan Hawkins is running unopposed as well. So 2 state Supreme Court races in Ohio are up for grabs as well. As for Indiana, Indiana doesn't have too many of those in terms of there's no governor election or attorney general or any of those because those took place in 2024. Indiana does their governor elections in the 2024 cycle and every presidential year cycle. So we just saw Indiana up in 2024 where it voted for the Republican Mrvan above 13.3%. So Indiana will be up again for governor in all those elections in around 2028. As for other down ballot races, there are obviously going to be the state house and state senate elections. In those, there's really too many to go over, but there's going to be a ton of those up for grabs as well. As for mayor elections, there are also going to be 2 mayor elections in Indiana in the cities of Attica and the mayor of Covington. Those primaries, there are 2 Republican primaries between Brad Crane and Randy Randalls for mayor of Covington, and for mayor of Attica, Larry Grant and Tasha Feasel as well running in those ones. And then, the state house and state senate elections from then on. So even though most of the primaries at the general election level, we know how they're going to go, there are still a lot of Republican and Democratic primaries up for grabs. Ohio obviously takes the center stage with the Senate race and the governor's race, both of which are looking very competitive right now. So those get most of the attention for Tuesday without a doubt. But there's an interesting House primary in Indiana 1, interesting House primary in Ohio 1, also interesting House primaries in Ohio 9 and 13 as well. So those are really the main races to go over for Tuesday's primary. If there's anything I missed or any other things that you want me to talk about, please leave a comment down below. Feel free to address that, anything you'd like to say as well. Also, stay tuned as I have a new video coming out every single day. That if you enjoyed this video and you may like videos like this one and other stuff on my channel as well, make sure to keep an eye out for those as those come out once a day. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please remember to hit like and subscribe, and hope to see you in a future video.